So we're going to do introductions real quick. Why don't you all go ahead and get started? Rizzo?
Sure, yeah. I'm one of the senior producers on Blankos Block Party, and I specifically focus on the art cross-discipline. So working on all the lovely Blankos, as well as accessory assets, emotes, everything that goes into the junction, all of those types of things, as well as a feature owner on multiple features.
Nice. Justin?
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm the director of community at Mythical. First of all, I gotta say, Chavio, thanks so much for having us on this stream.
Yes,
Man.
thank you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm so excited to talk with the community, your community, our community. You've been a fixture on Blankos for so long, and I don't think you realize how many people at Mythical actually watch your stream.
I appreciate it.
Like I
do, because in the early days, it was only you guys watching.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But yeah, I mean, I run the community at Mythical and oversee the team. If you've seen the Mythical Games account on Discord or Justin-Mythical on Discord, that's me. We also have a new member on our team, Josh Park. He's been helping out with the community, and we also hired JDN a couple months ago to help out with community things too. So the team
Jay's
is
a
growing.
big favorite of ours. We all love
Yeah,
JDN.
yeah. We appreciate him a lot, even though he always gets #1 on every leaderboards. Damn you, JDN.
Wait, give me 1 sec. I gotta turn these alerts off. I turned them on earlier so that we can turn these back off.
But yeah, any kind of community questions, I'll be fielding those.
All right, terrific. And finally, Anish.
Hi, good to be here. So I'm the executive producer on the product. So looking at the game overall and also the business aspect of it and the strategy. So kind of caught up in all of the stuff along with Blankos. So, excited to be here and let's get going.
So you're the one who's in the hot seat today. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Anish is the man. He's the buck stops with Anish.
When I ask a tough question, you guys are both gonna look at Anish and be like,
yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Anish,
all right. Well, we all know we don't have a ton of time because we do have the big drop coming up this afternoon. So one, I just want to start off by saying congratulations on everything that was unveiled yesterday. The stage and everything looks incredible. I think we're all very curious to know where those things are going, and maybe we'll get a little bit more information about that during today's chat. But I just wanted to take a second to say congratulations. I think it was a beautiful unveiling. I saw Deadmau5 saying that the song you guys have isn't even released yet, which is pretty crazy. That you guys have an unreleased song in the game, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, we were pretty excited about that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have some exclusive content. So let's jump right in here. So we're going to talk about community, building, marketplace, and then we have some miscellaneous questions. And of course, first and foremost, we're going to start with the community questions. So one of the big questions we've all had is daily active users. Do you guys have any kind of estimate on what that is at this time?
Anish.
So yeah, what I can say openly is that we have on a monthly basis instead of daily. On a monthly basis, we are trending at about 60 to 70,000 users, right?
Okay.
And that's the scale at which it is, and it's constantly growing, right? So week on week, we're seeing that trend upwards. So that's exciting for us.
Excellent. That's really nice to hear that. And then one of the big things is it's awesome to hear that we have 60 or 70,000 users on this game, but I'm sure all of us that have played can verify that it doesn't feel like, you get into plenty of lobbies where it's like 2 or 3 people, especially if you're playing on off-peak hours, and there's a huge global community. So peak hours is really kind of depends on where you are, but obviously I think there's a heavy player base in NA. So I think NA hours, North America, are going to be some of your more peak hours of gameplay. But the question then becomes, with all those people playing, we're all looking to see the player experience grow. So the question becomes, how do we get these 60 or 70,000 people that are playing? How do we make it feel like there's a larger player base when we're actually playing the game? Is there any mechanics coming up that are going to, help to funnel players so we feel like the player base is as robust as it actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that we're working on, which is going to be coming online real soon is trying to focus the players into that core loop, right? That core loop of playing the game and earning, and right now there's a lot of distractions. You get into the junction and there's many places to go, right?
Right.
So one of our big things is focusing the players in a space where they are funneled very quickly to play. And that means pushing some of those things back, right? And not necessarily taking them away at all, but pushing them a little further back and making the play the forefront of what they see when they jump in the game, so that players are jumping into parties, making sure that we're playing a lot of those awesome maps that people are building, and enjoying that content.
And along with funneling the players together, is there a way that y'all are planning to reward players for staying in the matches longer? Sometimes you'll see folks come in, get their challenge done, and leave, or they see that they're not performing well, so they quit. Now, other games, you know, that we've played in the past, maybe some kart racing games or even some other platforming games we've seen where, you know, there's like a series of maybe 4 blocks, 4 games tied together where the players earn more points the longer they stay in and compete for some sort of, you know, ultimate prize. Like you get your participation prize, but then there's like an ultimate prize down the road if you happen to stay in longer. Do you see any type of mechanisms like that making their way into the game?
Definitely. I think incentivizing players to stay longer absolutely is a thing we want to do. What form that it takes, that we're still figuring it out, right? But we definitely want to make sure that that stuff happens. So something to look forward to, definitely.
And how long do you think it'll be until we see some sort of implementation of those mechanisms that filter us all together, funnel us all together?
Oh, I think, Rizzo, you can correct me, but we will be able to in the next update, which will be in November, see
Terrific.
some of those improvements already, right? So I think it'll be a discernible difference as you come into the, you know, Rizzo, add on to the Launchpad stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So a part of that funnel, that experience that I was talking about, is dropping the player into a bit of that that desk type experience that you happen to see when you were in the Fatui, if any of you went through the Fatui, and in there you can go directly to play, and I think in particular you're specifically talking about like game modes and things like that and challenges, things to the party pass that help bring apart that longevity for players and making sure that they feel rewarded for staying as long as they possibly can. And we're absolutely looking at things like that in, you know, in November and early 2022.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I mean, we want to make this as seamless as possible, right?
Yeah.
You know, some of the issues that we've seen from the community, they say, you know, like you don't need to go, you shouldn't be able to have to go to Discord or read a guide on how to play Blankos.
Right.
So making that system where you can just jump in and play and have a good time, that's what Rizzo and Anish and the whole team has been working on, to really simplify that process and make it super smooth. And I can't wait for you guys to see this upcoming update. It is awesome. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
We're pretty, you know us, we're like chomping at the bit over here.
Yeah.
So the next big question kind of leads into, are there any plans that you can talk, you know, fairly specifically about how you're planning to continue to grow the player base? Obviously, you know, getting us to play more and having that funnel system of making the core loop and the core experience more and more, you know, enjoyable. You know, that's what you want. You want people to be like, God, I just want to get in there and play that game again. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So are there any specific ways you can discuss about how you plan to grow the player base outside of that funnel mechanism? And I can give you some examples if you'd like, but I think I'll let you go on your own first. See what you give us.
Let me start at, it's about bringing in more players, right? Of course, the funnel is helping retain them, making sure that they come together and bucket them so the experience is exciting. But what we are also actively looking at, and this is on our roadmap very much, is expansion, right? Expansion into other platforms and allowing for people to play across platforms, right? So
cross platforms?
Yeah, to be able to play whether you're on, well, let's not go too out there, but the idea is that For example, going into having a SKU on Mac, right? Or looking at the other stores or partners that we can go with to get
Epic
out there.
Games Store, Epic Games, obviously not Steam. Anybody talking to Todd Sweeney yet? Is anybody chatting up with Todd, seeing if we can get in the Steam store?
Let's say we've got things baking in the oven. Let's say that.
Okay. You heard it, chat. We're talking to Epic. JDZ's in chat. He says, "Shh." That's Jamie Jackson. Jamie Jackson says, "Shh."
Listen, Chavio. Our goal from the start is always to be to make mainstream blockchain NFT games, right?
Right.
That has been the goal from the start of Mythical Games.
That's right.
And in order to do that, we need to expand and grow, and these things are constantly being talked about, constantly being looked at. How can we do that on a more global, broad scale? So those are the things that we're looking at, and of course, as Anish mentioned, Mac is coming. I know Mac
is coming. You heard it, chat. I get that once a day. Win Mac.
That is the thing that people have been asking for so long. Anish, you got any more details?
No, we can just make that a little bit more exciting. Mac's coming, and we're looking at late November, early December for it, right? So we'll
November, December. Mac, you heard it.
Yeah.
So potentially as early as next month. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, not next week. Next month.
All right. So and I gotta ask, any console plans potentially? Or is that just same answer?
Sure. Same answer. We are working on stuff. We're having discussions, and we're figuring out when we can make that happen. Yeah, but definitely something we want to do.
And I promised myself I wouldn't say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's a waste of time. But I'm going to say it. You guys, I think you're doing a tremendous job making that seamless transition into making it almost like people don't even know it's an NFT blockchain style game. And I think that is so important for mass adoption because, you know, I spent 90 minutes this morning trying to turn one cryptocurrency into a second cryptocurrency, downloading 2 different wallets, trying to get all this done just so I could mint one of the game tokens for a game that's not even around yet. So, you know, when you have that level of barrier, those types of games will never receive the mass adoption. This is the model. This is the way it works. You know, the way that you have all done it to allow credit card integration. So it's almost, you know, it's just like every other game out there in terms of getting your money into the game. And then there's all these options to get your money out. And I just want to take a second to say thank you for making a process that is incredibly difficult on so many different projects. Thank you for making it feel just fluid, easy, and just super, super welcoming for other folks to come in and be able to use quickly. Because I think that was like, I think that to me is next to the community being amazing. I think that's like the #1 standout feature that we see in this particular game. Like I really did spend 90 minutes this morning, like pulling my hair out, trying to get into another game just to not even be able to buy into it. I missed it. Like, that was it. I just didn't get it.
We love hearing that, Chavio. And
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look around Mythical Games, we're all gamers, right? We've all been in this industry for like a decade plus, right? Some even longer than that. Some of the graybeards even longer than that, you know. So we all just want to make a fun experience, and we all really, a lot of us, you know, come from traditional gaming. I've been in the space for 10 years. Rizzo has been with Mythical for almost since the beginning, really.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 years now. I'm in the industry for a really long time, like more than a decade.
Yeah, same with Anish. Anish is coming over from EA, so and he just joined in August, and we're bringing in these big guns, these incredibly talented people to make the best gaming experience possible with NFTs and blockchain as the core, the backbone, because we feel like that's the future, right? Like we love the idea and the concept of player ownership and actually, you know, being able to sell the items that you buy in a game. You know, we feel like there are outdated models out there that just aren't going to be sustainable in the world that is being built right now on the backbone of Web3, NFTs, blockchain, all these concepts that are out there that are revolutionizing how people are earning through games and making a living. It's phenomenal, and we want to bring all of our experience for the last decade, 2 decades, from everyone at the company to really make that experience as best as possible.
Yeah, I'm going to flip it on you and say thank you. Thank you for being a part of a community that is growing. And like our goal from the beginning has always been to make a really good game first with everything else, you know? So thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to try to kick this up a little bit because I know I'm watching the time. If you see me looking left and right, I'm watching the time closely here because we got a lot to talk about. So, all right, moving along, dev update chats. So that was something that I wanted to touch on because I think these types of conversations, especially in a game where we're asking folks to invest heavily, whether time, money, or both, these weekly updates or monthly updates could be very, very key at keeping the community kind of where it needs to be. So what do you think about, doing these almost on like a regular basis, whether it's through me or whether it's, on your own, however y'all choose to do that? What do you think about that?
I think we're in full agreement. We want to do more of those. And I think there's been a little bit of a gap over the last few months, and we want to make sure that we rectify it as soon as possible, starting with this. So
I'll let you guys try to do it. And if I don't see you do it, I'm going to start pinging. But hey, guys, I haven't seen it. It's been 4 weeks. We've heard nothing. You're going to have to come back on the show.
Yeah.
Back to the principal's office.
I will say this, Chavio. I mean, we want to be as transparent and open as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
That is our goal from the start, right? Like
right.
we really want to be able to share as much as possible. Over the past few months, things have been changing at light speed pace within the company, within the game, right? So the last 2 months have been the most transformational period for Mythical Games in its entire history. And I will say this, that the next 2 months, 2 to 3 months, will be even more transformational.
So we're ramping up. The amount of changes coming is accelerating.
Yeah. We're ramping up. We also have a new community manager, Josh Park. Like he's awesome. Anish and I and Josh have been putting together a plan to create more regular dev updates with you guys. Okay. We had a plan long ago with these dev videos, these dev doc videos, and that was my plan to continue on with them. But honestly, like, there's a lot of work to do on Blankos. Like we are often stretched really thin, and we're in the phase where we're hiring and growing and building out these teams, and oftentimes it takes a little bit of time to build up that process, build up that that runway to actually create a regular stream or a regular check-in. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're still in early access. We're still really early in the game. And we have a long way to go.
So that's the perfect time for me to ask, season 1 when?
We're looking at early 2022.
Yeah, there you go.
Early 2022?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, maybe what, Q1?
We've got the reason being, we want to be able to get some of these updates that we talked about. We want to be able to get that into the game, get some feedback on it, make some iterations if needed, and get the game to a place where it's like, you put it out there, season 1, and it's a rocket ship. So
okay. And then the last thing about community is community events. Now, obviously, we've seen games in the past like Fortnite really launch out of their Friday night, fight night events that they launched. That was really some of the beginnings of those games by them. Again, it's another system of filtering the player base. In addition to the game mechanics itself, there are community mechanics that you can use to help kind of filter folks in together. So I think we're all kind of curious, do we see any type of additional, we're seeing the happy hour event come out now. That's very cool. You're seeing some free NFTs for folks logging in or starting accounts. That's cool. And I'm just curious what other types of events, potentially even building events, do y'all see coming in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. We want to provide a ton of value to the engaged users, and certainly we have this. In the past we've done these build challenges, which have been amazing and awesome. Our last build challenge it's been a while, and I think the reason why we haven't really kept up with them is because the last one we ran it for a couple months and we didn't see the numbers that we were really hoping for. We put a lot of effort into it, so we didn't see the activity and engagement in it, and so we're kind of taking a step back and reevaluating that. But I will say this, that we started off with a few new community challenges or community events that we're looking at. The first one is going on right now, which is the Halloween Masquerade,
Right.
where you can submit some designs of your Blankos dressed up in the Halloween gear. In the future, also we're looking into and discussing community designed Blankos as well.
Oh.
This is something that has been asked for
Oh yeah.
so long.
Oh yeah.
And
You guys got some great stuff out there too.
yeah, there's
I mean, you have
such a-
professional artists that are
It's
now
amazing.
designing Blankos. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
they're using
Yeah,
3D programs. They're going all out.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not playing around
Exactly.
anymore.
So much talent out there, and we want to recognize that. We want to support those guys who are really creating this incredible content and put it in the game. And we want to play around with that and see what that idea expands into. I think also rewarding our creators like you is really important to us as well. So we're bouncing around the idea of like, what if we created a Chavio Blanco or
Let's go. Let's go. The
or like a
Chavio
content
Blanco.
creator
He needs the
Blanco.
long hair, the dimples, and the Pepe stash. We good. We
Yes,
good. Those are the
exactly.
key features. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
We haven't
So,
started concepting that at all.
yeah, there exactly. Yeah, there's no doodles in the background at all.
Mm.
No, I mean, these are the ideas that we're bouncing around right now to not only engage the community but also reward them for their dedication and
Yeah.
long serving dedication and loyalty to the game. I mean, we're looking at that for builders and everything, where it's how do we encourage content creators to stick with the game. How do we do more things like utilize Twitch drops, for example,
Oh yeah.
to create like monthly Twitch drop campaigns or something like that, where across the directory you have a chance to get a like some Blanco bucks or moolah or so and so for watching an hour, 10 hours, 20 hours, or so on. So I think that's a really important thing that we're looking at, and definitely where we're going with challenges. Obviously, there's a ton of things that we can do in game, but for now, these are the things that we're looking at outside of game to really boost that retention.
We
And
also,
go ahead.
we're also looking at, from Justin, just to add to that, the whole idea of bringing community closer from the standpoint of, even for the builders, more formally, maybe having people join us in creating some of those content, right? That's something that we're actively looking at. And yeah, so, and also we're looking at also having more closed betas for our features, right? Some of the stuff that's coming out, get people signed up and test it early so we can get feedback. So, the community also becomes more of a part in informing the decisions made. Right?
Cool. I think that's
So
a
now I made
terrific.
Justin just
Sorry, go ahead.
stressed out.
I think that's a good time to transition into talking about building stuff, because we did talk a lot about community events and how they relate to building. Because let's face it, the builders are probably the most valuable players in some of the entire community. They literally build the land that we play the game on. You really can't overvalue those folks. So I think some of the biggest things that folks are talking about are incentivizing builders to continue building. So when do we think we'll see some sort of building rewards or incentivization?
So we are working on what that structure looks like. We do want to know, we do want to make sure that it comes out by Q1, earliest, I'm
Q1.
sorry, latest, right? The process around it, how do we make it, the way that we handle it, how do we make it reasonable, how do we make sure that the rewards are valuable enough, things like that. That's what we're ironing out right now. And
Sure.
so there's
Yeah.
a larger process at play, so that we need to figure out. Justin, you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to sort of say touch on that a little bit, because there, you know, build mode is a tricky thing. It's some of our most engaged hardcore players, but it also makes up a really small portion of our community and player base. You know, less than like 0.01% have actually published more than 5 blocks.
But
So
100% of your player base plays on them.
Yes, that's
It's
correct.
true.
And
So
the
is it a small
process-
percentage of the player base? You know, I get what you're saying.
So yeah, no, I understand your point there.
Their
So
impact is huge, even though it like,
It's very
Yes.
huge.
you know, even
If-
though it's such a small percentage of people that are building, their impact is gargantuan. to the
Yeah,
game.
exactly. And that's why we want to Anisha's point, we want to formalize that relationship with them a little bit deeper. Because the heavy load on our end is when we see, you know, however many blocks created in a week, in a new week, and we have to play through all of them, QA them, make sure that they're high quality, right? Like, because if we put a block party that is over budget, for example, or that is that has some really bad spawn camping, or
Right.
that has some really bad mechanics that like are going to make that experience really bad for first time users, for
Yeah.
people just jumping into the game.
Yeah, one step forward, 3 steps back. Yeah, you can't.
You see retention drop, right? You see people just quit the game out of frustration.
They still have to be fun. Like
Yep,
that's
the core loop
right.
is the most important thing in the whole
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we absolutely love the creativity of our builders. We love the designs. I mean, they continually impress us
Oh, yeah.
time and time again. I mean, JH Cosmic,
I was gonna name drop
Sylvester,
JH Cosmic. It's so
Sylvester,
ridiculous.
Why is mommy crying?
How-
Kakian is a
Yeah,
new
oh my
one.
God, totally.
all these people are pumping out content, and we absolutely love it. But we need the process internally needs to be refined for everyone involved, in order to make a really fun experience for
And it
everyone.
needs to work in a way that when we continue to add players and it grows, the builder community grows, right? It still need to be manageable, and we can get the same quality of output in. So that's why it requires a little bit more thinking, and that's what we're currently up to.
Okay, so we'll expect to see something early Q1 there. So let's just jump right into the next question. Additional game modes. Everybody was wanting additional game modes. We have the big 3 right now, but this is a huge one that people are been asking like every single day. You know, they talk about capture the flag. JDN just pointed out soccer, which is like I play it almost every drop day. If I wasn't doing this, I can guarantee you right now we'd be playing soccer. You know, we even have non-competitive modes where we do fashion shows and stuff now. So I'm curious, are there more, and somebody just brought up Battle Royale, you know, are there more types of games or game modes, or, you know, more types of weapons, what is coming? What is coming and that you can tell us about with game mode?
Absolutely, all of those things.
Everything.
We are looking at more game modes. We're looking at other ways of playing. So we're looking at all of those things, and we're definitely coming out with some things in you know, early January or mid January, I think, right?
Wow, that's coming.
Yeah, there will be a game mode, and there will be some additional stuff that's added to it, which will change the way you play some of the existing stuff as well. That'll make it more fun and exciting. So pretty much early Q1, we will have that out. So.
Very cool. And then one thing that's been touched on quite a bit in terms of gameplay with the current build, we've seen quite a bit of lag recently with players. Is that something you guys are actively working on to try to get, like currently when you're playing, you're feeling like almost like your character's rubber banding quite a bit. I didn't know that was something being worked on, or just server health in general. Is that something that y'all see continuing to improve, or are we kind of at a standstill?
So we've got recurrence of that issue that's happening. So we are investigating it because we do want to make sure that the latency is good and that you're having a seamless experience. So actively being investigated, and we want to fix those things as soon as possible.
Perfect. I'd like to ask those questions for the chat, but I always know the answers are gonna be like, of course we're gonna fix it, like. All right, let's keep it moving. We've touched on a good bit of things. One big question I had for some of our really high level builders, the folks that really are building the vast majority, especially of the featured maps, increased map size for some builders. What is the potential of giving specific builders a larger budget?
That's something that we have yet to figure out. Rizzo, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it kind of goes along with like an increased ways of helping builders. So like there's always ideas we have around ways that we can provide better tools, ways that we can improve like the storage capacity. So I can't give you an estimate about when that will hit, but it's definitely on our list of things we're looking at actively.
Yeah, almost like a way for builders to rank up, and that's kind of an incentive in itself. So it's kind of two birds with one stone. Your builders rank up, and
Right.
they're seen on a list of builders of, I don't know how it's quantified, whether it's plays or featured maps or ratings. But then those players who hit a certain tier are able to say get 150% budget or a 200% budget. Because can you imagine what some of these folks would do with double the map size? I can't even begin to imagine.
I know what I'd like to do with double the map size. My goodness. I like to build as well.
Yeah, I don't have it in me. I'm not a creator. I'm too analytical. I just judge everybody else's stuff.
I think priority always is performance first.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's got to play
absolutely.
well. Yeah, like is it possible to make a map double the size without it, just lagging and being a bad experience?
Yeah, and that's definitely the type of things that we're gonna like take into account when we're looking at those things.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna jump down into probably one of the biggest things that we want to talk about today. I know everybody is super excited about this because we're gonna jump into marketplace conversations now, and I know that you guys are more on the product itself, but we're gonna talk about some marketplace stuff, especially because I think one of the big things we see happening is obviously was the change from being a high or low demand, high supply back when the marketplace wasn't available to all. And obviously now that we have global buying and selling available for all, we've seen the market kind of do what it's going to do. It's settled down quite a bit. And I think some of the big questions we have now are regarding, stabilization and increasing utility for the Blankos. So why don't you guys, can you tell us anything about how we plan to stabilize the market and help some of those prices possibly rebound and come back up?
So you want to start and then I can dive in?
Yeah, I'll say that, we are always monitoring the market, and it's still relatively new. We just opened it up to global crypto selling and buying. So there's a lot of lessons that we are taking from this, and we're constantly looking at providing value to everyone. So providing value to the seller, providing utility to the Blankos. First of all, I mean, if you look at the Dead Mouse Blanko, it's one of our most unique Blankos ever released, right?
Right.
It has a built-in default helmet with an alternate appearance when you apply a different headpiece. It has music. It has a built-in emote. So always providing value.
You mash it up.
You mash it up. It has this glowing shader. So always providing value to the actual Blankos at primary sale. And then of course there's been we've been teasing gem minting for a while. And
gem minting.
And I think with gem minting, the goal is to always provide more value to people that have a ton of time to play, and a ton of time to level up their Blankos and really and providing that play to earn value, that utility that we feel is really important, while also reducing supply and increasing rarity. So I mean, it's one of the most unique features that we've been working on, and we're trying to get it right. And Anish, do you have more to chat on it?
Yeah. So regarding marketplace, it's going to ebb and flow a little as perception changes or speculation changes, and
Sure.
there's factors driving that. But to Justin's point about gem mints, we let's say it's going to, apart from everything he said about controlling, reducing supply, increasing rarity, and providing the opportunity to get super rare Blankos. I think what it also does is take something that was available at a certain price point and actually increasing the value for the player, right? And we also hopes to see more unboxing happen across the game as well. That's something that we want to see
Exactly.
more of.
Utility,
Part of it is
utility.
adding utility, right?
Yeah,
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
it really is.
I mean, you can also think of gem minting in the way of like Pokemon evolutions, right? And really, you start off with a common Blanko, and that has a high supply, and you level them up, you combine them into a new Blanko, and that new Blanko. Do you want to touch on Anish, some of the cool features that as you mint from EX level, I think it's 15 now, EX level, the max level, to mint, to gem mint? What are some of the other kind of like perks that you get along the way?
I think it's gonna look better. It's gonna have a art side of it, let Rizzo do it, but it's also going to have some additional functionality that comes through that will be adding value to it. I can only say that much at this time without giving too much away. But what I will say is that we will have the first gem rush essentially happen in December.
First gem rush December. Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions about gem rush. The description currently says they need to be identical. Does that mean they need to be, same skill type, same color scheme? Like they can't be mashed, they can't be a wrecker and a tanker. How does that all work? Because we've all been like, I want to say I've reread that description maybe like a dozen times through the months of us talking about it. So that's a big one.
All right, that one's why don't we circle back on the details, because there are some things that we're ironing out right now. So I don't want to say anything.
Because a lot of people are trying to figure out, you know what I mean? Like some people would, I think some people are holding on opening things because they're like, I don't know if I can open it, because if I make it a wrecker and the other one's a tanker, does that mean they're not identical anymore? So we're definitely.
So Chavio, real quick on that. So that description was written back in like June, July.
Right.
So we've worked on it for a while. We're still working on Gem Rush. It's still something that is in the process. So all these details will be shared eventually. And I think we'll go into a little bit more detail around it when we're a little bit closer to the.
I tried chat. All right. So the other thing we talked about is that gem minting does offer utility, but the way I understand a gem rush event is that it's only going to be activated for one particular Blanko at a time. Being such, that leaves 99% of the other Blankos really not getting a utility buff by the gem minting. So although gem minting sounds amazing, it's a very shiny carrot to dangle, I still have to say utility seems to be falling short if gem minting is kind of the front runner. So what other forms of utility can we look forward to seeing? Because that's another thing. I want to see more people unboxing Blankos, and right now I can tell people just aren't feeling the utility in the Blankos, and that's what's prohibiting them from opening these. They're like, I'll keep it boxed so I can resell it later. So what else is going to happen that's going to encourage people to open them more frequently and increase utility in them?
So we can't go into too much specifics. But I think it's fair to acknowledge that we do have to add utility for Blankos. And part of it is why we don't see the unboxing as much. So we have that in our roadmap. It's stuff that we'll be looking into mid to late Q1 or early Q2, where we hope to get more of that systems in the game that can leverage Blankos in ways that add utility, right? So by having a collection, a specific set of Blankos, or by leveling up a Blanko, you stand to gain some passive benefits or direct benefits into other systems that exist in the game. That will be in the game by that time. So that's how much I can say about it. But essentially, yeah, agreed on the fact that we definitely want to make it incentivize and make it valuable that you level up a Blanko and you collect more Blankos. So
we also
sounds like
sure
it's early development, so I think we'll get some.
Yeah,
more
we also got to make sure that this thing works, right?
Yeah. And if you tell us something today,
yeah,
you can't. We'll never forget. We'll never forget.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to make sure that it's a solid thing. And Rizzo, did you have more info on?
Yeah, I actually
skills?
I'm just like confirming some things because it's not my feature, but it is. You don't need the same skill, so I can tell you that much.
You heard it, chat. Different skill types. It's okay. All right, cool. So I'm gonna kind of shift gears a little bit from utility into probably one of the other biggest questions I get. This is going to be probably lower on the priority in terms of mass adoption, but still very important for those those blockchain enthusiasts, and that is ETH mainnet bridge. When do you think we'll be able to actually take a Blanko and particularly maybe sell it on OpenSea, or put it into a different wallet? Is there any plan for that coming in the future?
Or should I
go for it, Anish?
Oh, so it's a feature that we are working on currently as we speak. It's in development. I think end of the year, beginning of next year is when we would have that out, and that will allow you to take the stuff that we have in the game from the marketplace onto the mainnet and so on. So
wow,
yeah,
that's soon. I don't think any of us expected it to be that soon. So I'm going to say awesome. That's amazing.
I will say, ETHBridge is literally our top priority right now in terms of marketplace.
That's amazing to hear.
It's after introducing crypto payments and selling, buying and selling, wow. ETHBridge is our top priority. So we got the cryptos in. Now it's ETHBridge. This is incredibly important. This is the model that we have been building off of for so long, and this is the vision, I will say that there's a lot of challenges that we need to work through with ETHBridge. It's not an easy thing. None of this, none of these things have templatized, built-in, pre-ready-made technology that we can just cookie cutter into our system. Everything has to be built from the ground up, including our marketplace. Our marketplace has been built from the ground up. Our game, everything has been built up from the ground up. So, we want to make sure we get this right. And because our NFTs, because our Blankos do have utility, because they do have, gem minting and gem rushing coming out in the future, we want to make sure that we get this right, because that utility then changes. It can potentially change if it is taken off the out of our system, and how does that actually work? And so these are the questions and the challenges that we're working through, and it's not an easy answer. So that's why it's taking a decent amount of time, but it is absolutely a priority on our end.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are certainly in uncharted waters, we'll say. I mean, everybody in the blockchain space is, but I don't think anybody. You guys are the ship that's the farthest to the horizon. There's quite a few games out there that are trying to pass themselves off as games, and then there's some ones that you can actually have some fun playing. But I honestly don't think anybody's even anywhere close. So yeah, there's no roadmap to follow of pre-established games that have done this in the past.
I appreciate that, and I think we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I saw Blankos Junction in chat. By the way, love you, Blankos Junction. Huge shout out to you. You've
Oh
been
yeah.
there from like day
Seriously.
one. Seriously, your team, you and your team are amazing. But you were talking about roadmap in chat. This is something that Anish and I talk about weekly pretty much now, where it's like, how can we, how do we feel, how comfortable do we feel about presenting a roadmap at this time? And I think we owe you guys that. You definitely need that, and it's something we're really hard at working on. Obviously, in all of our conversations that we've had today, this is a very fluid product that is changing daily, changing weekly. So
Hard to
so
give
our
a roadmap. Yeah.
our roadmap changes almost daily, weekly. So anything we put down in an image or a blog or a video is going to change absolutely 100%.
Just give us like a 7-day roadmap.
Well, here's what
This
I
is
can
what-
say though, is that there is a certain focus. Like for example, the way the questions you would ask, right? It was about growing the player base. It was about utility. It was about bringing community together. And pretty much is the same framework for us in the roadmap. Our priority is to make sure that we get more players in the game and have them retain, right? Priority is that the gameplay itself is more fun and there's more variety in it, so that you keep coming back into it, right? And the third piece to that is, okay, now that you're in the game, how can we make sure that the blankos that you're collecting or the stuff that you're playing to earn, that has value, not just in monetary sense, but also utility in the game, right? And there's the systems that, whether it's GemRush or other systems that we plan to put in, that's supposed to create longevity in the game. So I'll focus at those 3 areas right now, and then add to it working with marketplace to ensure that, okay, all the stuff, take it out into the main net, right? So that's the framework right now that we're working against. And so there is obviously some things that we want to get to, but we aren't quite there yet because we have to focus on stuff that's we need to deliver over the next 4 months, right? So that's some insight there.
All right. Cool. So I'm gonna kind of just shotgun approach to some last questions here. We're running short on time. We got the drop in 18 minutes, chat, so we got to get ready for that. One big question that some folks have been asking is potentially having some sort of player home shelf showcase, definitely shelf filtering, so we don't, there's been a couple times where my shelf has gotten all over the place and I just won't fix it anymore. So I think some of us are kind of curious about what type, because that's another big thing, to be able to, quickly and easily share our shelf on social media. One is good for us because it creates value for us, and 2, it's great for marketing because it's kind of a grassroots marketing campaign. So what can you tell me about that?
That we want to do it, and we want to create that experience, because there's a social layer that we want to put more effort into, whether it is being able to see what other players have, where they get it, what's my shelf look like, how can I share it easily. It's stuff that we want to get to, but again, within that framework, it's a little bit out there because we want to get those first few pieces sorted.
Terrific. So it's on the wish list, but certainly a lower priority, and that makes sense. Lots to do before we get there. Okay, so to kind of move our way back up the priority, because I really liked how you broke that down, Anish, where you said, that it was really, how do we work on the player experience and get players playing more? And then it was, okay, now that we got them playing, how do we make it rewarding for them to be playing the game? Not only as a gamer, but as a blockchain participant now. So along those lines of growing the game, I think the community impact is huge. One thing that I see as I move from project to project in the blockchain space is I see everyone always go back and go, how did Blankos cultivate that community? How did they get so many people so enthusiastic and so positive about the game? And I think that really, we've talked about some standout features for the Blankos project, and I want to say, next to the ease of financial input and output of the game, really one of the biggest things that stands out is the community. So I want to know a little bit more about how the company plans to leverage the community. How much are you listening? When you are making decisions internally, how much is the community input impacting those decisions?
I'll be honest. honest, Chavio. That's beautiful for me to hear. As you know, head of the community, I absolutely love hearing that, and I'll say it in a. I've said this before, and I'll say it again: is that the Blankos community is the best community I've ever worked with, in hands down. Been in this industry, 10 years, worked on some of the largest games in the world, and Blankos community beats
Without a
them
doubt.
all.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. And on top of that, I've never worked with a development team that prioritizes community feedback more than this dev team, this company.
Wow.
From our CEO John down, it filters through everything we do. It is a key principle of everything that we are creating here at Mythical within Blankos. I mean, you guys really, I mean, we certainly go through ebbs and flows of positivity. But it's that passion, it's that feedback that drives us to be better. And we always look to that. We appreciate you a little bit more deeper into what we do as a community team and how we distribute that feedback. We have a weekly report every week at the start of every week. It goes through, we look at sentiment on Discord, on social media. We look at the top key trending suggestions from the Discord. So if you think your suggestions in the suggestions channel is going to waste, it's not. It's being pulled by JDN, being pulled by Josh, being looked at by myself, being distributed in a report. And then every Thursday, so that gets sent out Monday. Every Thursday, we have another meeting with all the key stakeholders of our company in Blankos, and we look at everything around Blankos, from top down, marketplace, gameplay, user retention, everything that goes into the game. And community obviously is a big part of that as well, where we're looking at sentiment score and what are the trending issues, and certainly it's like we see the issues, we feel the issues, because we play the game a lot too.
Right.
So we know that there's work to be done. We are part of you guys intensely. And I think, if there's anything to take away from that, is that you guys are, without the community, we don't have a game. We appreciate this community incredibly, and it's one of the greatest projects I've ever worked on.
Amazing, man. Love to hear that. That's I gotta say, I see people in chat saying the same thing. That's ultra refreshing to hear. You definitely want to know that your time investment, your money investment, doesn't matter how large, how small, you want to know that it's going somewhere. So to hear that y'all are listening, really, I think makes a big difference. I see a lot of very happy emotes in chat right now. Let me open the floor to you guys. Is there any questions I haven't asked? Anything that you're ultra excited about that I just haven't touched on today that you want to talk about?
We didn't touch too much on the junction. Rizzo, do you want to talk about plans for the junction with Deadmau5?
Let's hear it.
Sure, yeah.
Future?
So I mean, we're always testing things out, especially around the junction. And there's definitely more to come there. We've seen it as a space where people like to either hang out there, or like get all their challenges there, or group up before they go into the store, or things like that. But we also want to give it a bigger purpose, right?
Yeah.
We want to make sure it has a purpose. And Deadmau5 Island is one of those things that like is a next step to that, right? Like we're definitely looking for it to be an event-based space, or a space where we push for very specific challenges, so yeah, definitely more things to come there, and we are looking to utilize it, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
And when, just to add on to that, when you do come to those event spaces, that there is actually a bunch of fun, interesting things to do.
Yeah,
we want to make sure that is also in there.
Yeah, we've seen this with Fortnite, like maybe a couple years ago now, we saw them do like the marshmallow concert and some like actual live, like a countdown clock. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of buzz that was. I was playing Fortnite at the time. I'm not a big BR guy. I'm not a first person shooter guy. But man, people were just like electric with questions and excitement. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? So, you know, I think creating those types of events for the community is huge, huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like you're seeing like little pieces of it, right? Like we started with, you know, the big quicks, Blankos in the Junction,
Yep.
and then we went a little bit bigger, and then next time we might go a little bit bigger.
Cool, cool. All right, I see everybody pinging me about this question, so I got to ask it. And plus, it is a very important one for all of us to ask. The rate that or the frequency that we're releasing Blankos in the pricing. A lot of folks are starting to side with oversaturation of the marketplace by us releasing too many Blankos, and then the different price points about, you know, how high some of them have been. Can you guys talk on, you know, whether you guys feel the market is oversaturated or where you feel it's at and kind of the direction you see it heading moving forward?
So we've obviously been listening in, and so we've been hearing the sentiment, and so that has prompted us to take a harder look at the frequency, and so we are doing that right now and figuring out what the right cadence is. Obviously, we are also in early access, which means that we need to be able to test a bunch of stuff out, right? See what works, what can get most value for most people or everybody involved, right? We want to be able to figure that out, and it's also a little bit harder because the value of these Blankos and things, the pricing of it, while there's a short-term view of it, what happens over time, right? It's really hard to speculate on that at this time because, you know, we talked about expanding into other platforms, bringing in more players. That means that there is a natural increase in demand that will come through. So we are trying to make sure we hit the right notes, we test the right things. And yes, some things we may not get it quite right, but we want to try and get better at it. So we are taking a closer look at it to figure out what would be the adjusted cadence look like, right? And how can pricing be more meaningful, right? So definitely an active thing we are working on.
Yeah, to add on to that, Anish, you know, it is something we look at constantly, daily. We have a whole team, you know, looking at this, and it's hard to, you know, strike a balance between what we saw with something like Pug Life, where it sold out in 30 seconds, and Quicks that sold out in 30 seconds too, versus you know, just a week or two later with Gordo, which didn't sell out, right? So,
and then Pug selling out was mainly, you know, quick flippers or scalpers, however you want to call them, right? So like it really wasn't. That's why, you know, both Quicks and Pug had the same thing happen where we call that full Nijiko. That's the term that we use when something like people just buy it and they just want to totally quick flip and try to make their money, and it just decimates the floor market value.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's definitely something we're looking into. But additionally, you know, we don't feel as though the 30-second sellouts are, you know, are sustainable. We're still trying to figure out what's good.
Yeah,
right?
they're bad. They're, in my opinion, they're very bad right now because there's not enough players. Well, I guess it depends on each scenario. But when it's a large mint at a high dollar, like Pug Life, for example, Pug Life is really going to take over for Nijiko. I don't know if anything's going to save that one besides a gem mint, but you know, I do think that these quick sellouts are indicative of too many people trying to buy them and quick flip them, which it's honestly, I've gotten involved in the larger NFT space in general, just so I can understand other NFT projects, some offering utility, some pretty much just being profile pictures, some offering full games. And this is widespread. This is extremely widespread in the NFT community, but not in the gaming community, which is where it becomes difficult when you want to get into mass adoption. Kind of have to ignore that it's typical in NFTs and say, well, it's atypical in gaming. So how do we solve this problem? And it sounds like you're trying to do that through, you know, balancing the prices, the frequency, the quantities. Again, very, very, very complicated.
Yeah, what's the right formula?
Oh yeah, yeah. And every week we react differently because God forbid we do the same thing twice as players and investors. We're not going to do the same thing twice for you. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's also about like the value we put into the Blanko too, like the amount of value that we put into the Dead Mouse Blanko as well. Like it's got like Justin said, it's got the helmet, it's got the emote, it's got the ability to mash up, all of those things.
I switched screens on you now.
You did.
Yeah, it's getting close. It's only 5 minutes. I'm like,
It's
well, I don't want to cut
getting
anybody
real
off.
close.
Yeah.
It's getting real
So-
close.
So one thing I always do is I always test my chat. I make sure, all right, I'm communicating with server. Hopefully the server's communicating with me. I'm starting to get a little sweaty. I'm getting a little nervous now.
Mhm.
All right, chat. If you guys got questions, highlight some questions, throw them out there for us. I mean, there's 5 minutes till the drop. We're kind of just
Real
chilling.
quick, Anish or Rizzo, do you guys need to go? Anish, do you need to leave for the drop?
Yeah, I do need
Okay.
to go see.
Okay,
Yeah.
they gotta get off. They gotta go. They gotta go buy theirs too. You hear it here, chat.
We
Gotta go make
we
sure
gotta
it goes
sign off,
smoothly.
Make sure it goes smoothly.
Yeah, exactly.
But Chavio, good luck with the drop. Thank you so much for having us
Thank
on.
you.
I will say this, that we have like over 50 or 60 positions open on Mythical Games. So mythicalgames.com/careers. If anybody's
us.
looking to join us, we have tons and tons of positions open. We have a huge next week for you guys. This is going to be a really exciting time for Blankos, Mythical, the whole community, everyone involved. We can't wait to share with you some big news coming up, and we're looking forward to the drop. And good luck.
Yeah,
man.
good luck.
Hope you get a good number.
All right, everybody. Well, let's let them get out of here. Go get ready, and we'll
Thank
do
you
the
so
same
much.
here on our end. And I'll see y'all next time.
All right, see ya.
Thank you so
Bye.
All
much.
right, bye, everybody.
Bye.